Welcome to the bulletin once again. Albert Kandapa, National Security Minister, is currently addressing the Chamber of Parliament on the matters having to do with their preparedness towards the 2020 elections. Let's join them now.
In the having arraigned before court.
What was that? What was that?
Are currently standing trial. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, the high-profile miracle of the investigative journalist, Mr. Ahmed Suale, is to be cracked. Mr. Speaker, the recent unfortunate incidents of some high-profile killings, among others, also created serious concern among Ghanaians. Thankfully, the Ghana Police Service, in all the cases, have made significant breakthroughs and have arrested suspects connected to these crimes. Again, Mr. Speaker, chieftaincy disputes continue to pose serious challenges to the security of the country. Disagreements in Funzi, in Monegu, Somi, Boli, and Teshi are but a few of the delicate chieftaincy disputes that have been recorded in recent past. But again, Mr. Speaker, thanks to the proactive district, municipal, and regional security councils who work, includes collaboration, Ministry of Chieftaincy Affairs, and the National Regional House of Chiefs, majority of these disputes, Mr. Speaker, are receiving serious attention for resolution. Mr. Speaker, these recent security developments have engendered heated public debates about the effectiveness of Ghana's intelligence architecture in preempting impending dangers. For instance, some Ghanaians have wondered why the events of 25th September with respect to the Western Togoland affair occurred in the first place. While these concerns may be valid, Mr. Speaker, I humbly disagree with the assertion that the occurrence of some of these regrettable incidents amount to incompetence or intelligence failure. Mr. Speaker, I have come to this solemn realization that there exists a perpetual but necessary conflict between security and transparency. Whereas, Mr. Speaker, the tenets of democracy impress upon us to constantly make information available, the need to protect requires that some information be kept secret. It is this conflict, Mr. Speaker, that often blinds the general public appreciating the work of state security and intelligence agencies. And Mr. Speaker, conflict, in fact, is well expressed in a profound statement by the former President of the United States of America, President Barack Obama. And I want to quote, Mr. President, with your permission: national security requires a delicate balance. On the one hand, our democracy depends on transparency. On the other hand, some information must be protected from public disclosure for the sake of our security. The fact that some information regarding brief measures instituted to forestall some of these threats are not given out for public consumption does not constitute intelligence failure. Mr. Speaker, I can outline the security and intelligence successes that we have seen in recent times. The resolution of the Dagbon crisis, Mr. Speaker, represents a remarkable achievement in our nation's history. The delicate and complex nature of the crisis defined it as one of the most difficult national security issues in the past 2 decades. The successful installation of a new Yana, accepted by both the Abudu and Andani gates, described as a leadership masterstroke by government and indeed the people of Ghana. Through the difficult journey of resolving that crisis, the blueprint for dealing with chieftaincy disputes has evolved and given a new template for the amicable resolution of chieftaincy disputes in the country as a whole. And Mr. Speaker, permit me also to remind of the events of 20th September 2019, when a combined team of security and intelligence agencies foiled an attempt to destabilize the country. I remember that many Ghanaians took that development for granted, Mr. Speaker. But I can assure you, honorable members and the people of Ghana, that the swift operation by the intelligence community was a destiny-defining moment that saved us from a possible destabilization attempt which could have truncated our democracy. Mr. Speaker, once again, I would want to remind the House of the threats in the country, sub-region, and the measures implemented to insulate Ghana against threats of terrorism. Recently, the sub-region has recorded a surge in terrorist activities. The fast-paced nature of the threat, particularly in the Sahel, and the diverse groups involved imply that one country alone cannot effectively erect barriers against terrorism. Analyzing the need for cooperation and also collaboration with other countries, the best approach in securing ourselves against the effects of terrorism in the sub-region, Mr. Speaker, Ghana, under the distinguished leadership of Akufo-Addo, spearheaded the establishment of the Accra Initiative in September 2017. Mr. Speaker, the Accra Initiative, comprising 7 countries, namely Benin, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Togo, Mali, and Niger, has been vital in enhancing information and also intelligence sharing, training of the and intelligence personnel, and conducting joint cross-border military operations to sustain border security. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, the birth of Operations Kundalu 1 and 2 by the Accra Initiative has proven to be integral in preventing the spread of terrorism. And additionally, Mr. Speaker, we have ensured the successful establishment of the National Counter-Terrorism Fusion Center and the publication of the National Framework for Preventing and Countering Violent Extremism and Terrorism in Ghana. As a result of the work, Ghana stands well prepared to effectively avert potential threats of terrorism. And here, Mr. Speaker, I want to raise the substantial support, effort, and assistance given to us in the preparation of the National for Prevention and Countering Violent Extremism and Terrorism in Ghana by your Defense and Interior Committee and also the Parliament. As a result of this framework, Mr. Speaker, Ghana stands well prepared to effectively avert potential threats of terrorism. Again, Mr. Speaker, the numerous internal and external confronted by the citizenry, the Alpha Project, initially started by the previous government and aimed at installing high technology security cameras in major cities and towns, to implemented and in fact expanded. The first phase of the project led to the installation of 800 cameras in different parts of Accra. So Speaker, I can now announce that phase 2 of this, which is now ongoing, lead to the installation of 10,000 additional cameras, this time in all regional and all district capitals It's also going to support sensitive installations and also be deployed along entry points of all the land borders of the country. Mr. Speaker, our national security architecture has also undergone significant reforms, which are well expressed with the passage of New Security and Intelligence Agencies Act 2020, Act 1030, and accepted by the President on 20th October 2020. So, President, this new act, and again thanks to this August House, this new act, which replaced 526/1996, ushers in a new era of intelligence gathering, security coordination, analysis, and efficient and timely dissemination of security and intelligence issues across all relevant security and intelligence agencies and actors. And so it is also important to state that the Ministry of National Security has worked on a new national security strategy, which has been reviewed with your Committee on Interior and Defense for the country. It will, Mr. Speaker, be published in the coming days. And when we do that, Mr. Speaker, it will be the first documented national security strategy since Ghana attained independence. The strategy identifies current and future security threats and outlines measures to address the threats in order to safeguard the peace and stability of the country using a whole of government and whole of society approach. Mr. Speaker, something significant was achieved in the course of preparing this national security strategy. We saw members from both sides of the House here. We saw members from both of the House in civil society, in academia, and also in non-state institutions coming together to develop a document which we believe is acceptable to any government that comes into being. Mr. Speaker, the proactive rather than the reactive nature of these measures means that the security agencies are prepared to confront the threat of terrorism and indeed any form of emerging security threats in the foreseeable future to make Ghana a safe country. And to complement all these efforts of the security and intelligence agencies, Mr. Speaker, I think it is fair to say that it is on the ordinary citizens to play their part by providing information to assist in confronting all threats to security in the country. And it is important that Ghanaians refrain from divisive and hate speeches which can endanger the peace and the security of our dear country. Mr. Speaker, as the saying goes, we have no other country but our beloved Ghana to be proud of. And Mr. Speaker, there also seems to be a deliberate attempt by certain individuals to create a false notion of rising insecurity in the country. Facts, however, run counter to this false notion. For instance, they suggest a reduction in crime levels in the country. It's also important to state that Ghana's commendable management of the COVID-19 pandemic was possible, in part due to the effectiveness of the security coordination implemented by the state security architecture. But I think, Mr. Speaker, this false notion of insecurity stems from the deliberate politicization of issues of national security in the country. And I think it has become more pronounced approach the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. An assessment of recent development in the political space reveals that the false notion of insecurity is fueled by some politicians. These politicians at one moment openly threaten violence should they lose the elections, and at another express concern about rising insecurity in the country. And I think, Mr. Speaker, this is unacceptable, must be condemned in uncertain terms, irrespective of where it is coming from. Mr. Speaker, despite the politicization of issues of national security, which unfortunately has the potential to undermine the efforts of state security agencies, we believe that state securities have remained resolute in ensuring a peaceful and secured environment for all Ghanaians. And I want to thank the personnel of the security and intelligence agencies for their hard work and also for their relentless efforts in serving Mother Ghana. Mr. Speaker, as the 2020 residential and parliamentary elections approach, we believe that the country is confronted with a huge test in the area of election-related violence, given the high stakes involved in competitive political in Ghana and also on the continent. Even, Mr. Speaker, even when there's a common goal to be pursued, the very nature of democratic politics creates disagreement resulting from our political differences and interests of competing political parties. But, Mr. Speaker, the pursuit of our interests certainly should not be allowed to deepen the political fault lines, which, when unchecked, could degenerate into political stability. And I therefore want to sound a clarion call to all political parties, to all other stakeholders, to please uphold as the ultimate value that should guide our actions before, during, and after the December elections. Certainly, Mr. Speaker, and truly, it will be self-defeating and also meaningless to pursue our political interests at the detriment of the state. Mr. Speaker, two things, however, give me cause for an assurance that we can overcome all these fears. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, a few days ago, I held a meeting with some notable security gurus within the National Democratic Congress at my office, where both parties unanimously condemned the violent activities of the Western Togoland Restoration Front and further pledged to ensure a violence-free election. Again, Mr. Speaker, I am similarly happy that an NDC parliamentary candidate who is reported to have made some disparaging comments insinuating has since come out to apologize for the comments and has called for a peaceful election. Certainly, Mr. Speaker, if we all do this, we can be sure of a free, fair, and violence-free elections. Together, we can build the Ghana that we all deserve. That said, Mr. Speaker, it is worrying that adequate measures are currently being instituted to ensure violence-free elections, and I want to assure Ghanaians, and Ghanaians should be rest assured, that the National Election Security Task Force they are ready to provide adequate security against potential electoral violence or other acts of lawlessness. In the end, Ghana shall emerge victorious. Mr. Speaker, as the successful first term of the President draws to an end, I want to thank the Speaker. I also want to thank the leadership of Parliament and also the honourable members of Parliament for the support that you have given to my ministry over the years to ensure that a secured and peaceful environment is provided for all Ghanaians. I particularly wish to recognize the cooperation and support received from the chairman and especially the ranking member of the Select Committee for Defense and Interior, who have helped to shape the policies and actions over the years. In so doing, Mr. Speaker, at times they have been very critical. Just as many other institutions and many other Ghanaians have been critical of what they do. Mr. Speaker, we do not get annoyed because of these criticisms. To me and to us, these criticisms are the consultancies that we don't have to pay for. You just have to receive them in good faith and in the quiet of your bedroom, review them and see which ones you can take on board. I'm encouraged by the activities of the security and intelligence agencies. I'm convinced that we're going to have elections that will be free and fair. I'm convinced that we are not going to have any violence. As we have already said, anybody who is thinking of engaging in violent activities should be informed that the security and intelligence agencies will be ready for them, and it will not matter where they are coming from. This we promise Ghana. And Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you. I want to thank the House. I want to long live Ghana, and I want to say, may God bless us all. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Minister, for your briefing. Honorable Leader, how do we go about leaders who have done some consultation?
Mr. Speaker, where the majority leader was reaching out to me to consult on the matter, and there's some understanding that the ranking member on Interior will make some comments, then the chairman for the Committee on Defense and Interior. There are other major stakeholders that will have to listen to, including the Electoral Commission. Then after their comment, I make a brief comment with the majority leader. Then we recline to Committee of the Whole to hear the others.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to first and foremost thank the Minister for National Security for the briefing he has given this House on the state of security in our dear country. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister in his briefing has outlined a number of emerging security threats to our dear country and proceeded to outline some successes chalked by this current administration in the management of our national security. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to touch briefly on some of the emerging security threats that this country has had to grapple with over the period and the government's handling of those threats. First of all, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to state that the recent attack unleashed on our country by the secessionist groups in the Volta region is a matter that really touched on our national sovereignty. It was the first bold by a group to directly challenge or to launch an assault against the sovereignty of the country, our beloved country, Ghana. Mr. Speaker, after the attack, some statements were made to the effect, and these statements have now been corroborated by the Honorable Minister, that there was some intelligence that had been gathered prior to the attack, and that government's own response to the attack should not be interpreted as an intelligence failure, and he quoted extensively from some security experts on the subject. But, Mr. Speaker, the point I'd like to make is that government's own position that they had intelligence on the subject prior to the attack could have resulted in a more proactive way on the part of our security agencies in foiling the attack. But, Mr. Speaker, the attack that was launched was very brazen. Police stations attacked and arms taken away by the secessionists. I think that moving forward, we should be more proactive when intelligence is gathered. Sharing of intelligence is very in this respect. And I would like to note that once the attack was launched, we could be more proactive in rolling out measures the next time we gather intelligence on the activities of those groups. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister also alluded to the threat of kidnapping and how the Traitor Kradi girls were taken hostage and subsequently murdered. About the same time, 2 Canadian girls were also kidnapped. Some have suggested that the speed with which our security agencies acted in relation to the attack kidnapping of the Canadian girls, though commendable, in a way we could have replicated that example in our quest to rescue the Takoradi girls. But that is history now. We would like to admonish that our security agents in fighting crime would deploy that will lead to the rescue effort rather than a setback and only to uncover dead bodies after the crimes have been committed. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister has touched on election security and related issues. Around this time here, that is the singular most important issue that should engage the attention of all. Government on its part has given the assurances that measures have been rolled out to guarantee the safety and peace of this country during the conduct of the elections and after the conduct of the elections. Mr. Speaker, the country has had the experience of going through elections, successive elections starting from '92. But events leading up to the conduct of recent by-election in Ayawaso West, Wuogon, actually makes us feel jittery about prospects for peace in the upcoming elections. It is our admonition and prayer that the events that reared their ugly head during the conduct of the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election will not repeat itself moving into the general elections. What happened at Ayawaso West Wuogon, Mr. Speaker, if it is to repeat itself, definitely would mar the beauty of the upcoming elections and the peace of our country. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister has alluded to the success story of the Dagong Chieftaincy Crisis Accra Initiative. The Accra Initiative, Mr. Speaker, I'm just quoting. The Accra Initiative by government has been commendable, but I have always made the exclusion of Nigeria from the Accra Initiative makes the initiative incomplete. And so moving forward, efforts should be made to rope in Nigeria, our regional giant, to make the initiative complete. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to add my voice to the statement made by the Honorable Minister for National Security, a proud former member of this House, who have really brought a lot of dignity and experience to bear in the management of our public safety. The Speaker, working with him as a young member of Parliament and working with him on the other side as a member of the legislature and him acting the executive, we have seen a lot of improvement and progress in our public administration. Today, by his experience and understanding, the executive and the legislature are relating appropriately in of the country in respect of public safety. The Speaker, I am happy he has reported to us on Homeland Study Group. The Speaker, this group, I know that this country has act that prohibits people that call themselves with such names. And I wouldn't want to further go but state that the Prohibited Organizations in 76, SCD 20, prohibits any fellow calling themselves Western Togoland people. It is an affront to our existence as a people, and we do not and will not encourage any such people by doing such things on the land of the Republic of Ghana. And I am happy that as we speak, a lot of progress is being made, and the minister have reported same to us, and we encourage them to ensure that the sanctity and the peace of the people of this good republic, as I always would want to learn from the majority leader, the preamble of our constitution that enables and teaches us that we should make peace, unity, and the stability of our country. In fact, it is unfortunate that we lost the 3 girls from the Western region, Ruth Love, Quayson, and her people. However, it's of acts handling amongst our security operatives, Ghana was not disgraced. In our friends, the Canada, who fortunately were able to get them. I congratulate the Minister of National Security and the entire security of country for redeeming the image of Ghana as a proud state, which is today, Mr. Speaker, being called as the most safest place in West Africa. I am gladdened that yesterday I listened to the Inspector General of Police address our country on measures being put together for the 7th December general elections. And the minister stated that they are doing everything powers to ensure that we have a free, fair general elections. And before the general elections, as we all political parties go around canvassing, we are going to ensure that we have adequate protection in the country, and during the elections as well we have adequate in the country, and post the election we have adequate protection in the country. In fact, I was extremely overwhelmed to hear the number of 60,000 and over security personnel drawn from our regular services, i.e. the police service, the Ghana National Fire Service, the Ghana Immigration Service, the Ghana Prison Service, as well as the customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, and the intelligence agency, the Bureau of National Investigations. Mr. Speaker, I would only encourage them to do a good work, and I pray that whatever we have experienced in the last 7 general elections, going forward into this 8th general elections, and the beauty that Ghana has chopped and the success that we have made as a people with their support, and all of us in this house together and the people we represent at large coming together to ensure that we do not do anything untoward that will generate a misunderstanding amongst ourselves. It is our duty as members of the Republic to ensure that we do and do it well and decently. Speaker, I can only thank the Minister for availing himself to us in this House, bringing us this statement of encouragement, and I know we will do more and do better. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable. Yes, Honourable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank you, at least as Speaker of the House, for engaging the Minister for National Security in the public interest to brief the people's representatives on his efforts to combat crime and generally assure us of his preparedness of the safety, security of all Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, we will take the word of the Honourable Minister for National Security. It's reassuring, and to assure him of our avowed commitment to the unity, the peace, and the unity of the country, we should work together. I foresee a Ghana tomorrow. The conduct of elections should pass as a natural course, like a childbirth. No threat of infant or maternal mortality, but just a normal transition. I take just one word. When the minister uses the words false notion of insecurity, yes, there is incident in the country, but probably the incidence is not as high as what is being discussed in the past. I trust his judgment. I've always respected his judgment. He has a very sobering personality. But what we need, and to quote your words, transparency. It is not for nothing that even God, so there is a moral limitation, even God, when it comes to taking life, God decided that he would not be transparent. So, is it transparent? You know where you go or when I will go. If there was transparency, he would put you on notice. So, Minister, there is a moral resolution of it. What we will urge, we will not accept intimidation in the name of national security, and we will not accept intimidation in the name of other forces. I think that the majority leader initiated something. My colleague, the Honorable Yusuf Hussein, supported him. We engage the security agencies. Deployment of police officers, let it be the IGP and his men, not any other category of men. Then we can hold the IGP and his men responsible for what outcomes we see and we monitor. But be assured, 7th December, get your men right. We are committed to the peace of the country. Some of the issues I don't intend to, I normally relate to you. You know that I've related some message to you about the Yana not being happy about Nantong and Karga, particularly on Karga when he took a decision implementing a Supreme Court and his left Ajah. He sees it as an undermine to his authority and all the good that your administration have achieved in respect of it. Terrorism, the corridor of Wa, Bolga, Paga, and others, because of the fallout from the Sahel region. And pardon my use of the word, some herdsmen in that area may pose other threats. The security of the country is of paramount importance to any government. You have not indicated to us whether you have any logistic challenge or any finance challenge as we prepare for the elections. This House will be happy to know, so that if we have to call for dedicated resources, not what is printed, what is available for your men and women to safeguard the peace and security of this country. So neutrality and impartiality will demand from the security agency. So once again, let me commend you for this assurance, but don't trivialize it to a false notion of instinct. There is some sense of instinct, not in every aspect of our Ghanaian life, in pockets of it. And with Western Togoland, be assured that it does not and will never have board of the political minority. I've discussed it at some level with you. No, we think that what you have done is good enough, but punish it and swiftly. Don't let it grow. The threats in La Côte d'Ivoire and Guinea will guide you as we prepare for the December elections. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minority Leader, Majority Leadership.
Speaker, just to thank the Minister for National Security for availing himself to give this assurance to the country that the ministry and indeed government is in firm control of the matters that portend to ruffle the state. The Speaker is related to the activities within the front of the Western Togoland Administrative Front Study Group and the kidnapping of 3 Takoradi girls, the abduction and rescue of the 2 Canadian girls, and some high-profile killings, also chieftaincy issues. But, Mr. Speaker, we are all aware that what used to obtain in the past in respect of the BNI, the recent law that this House passed, Speaker, the National Security and Intelligence Agency's law, is what the ministry is instituting to provide a complete reorientation to the intelligence agencies. So, Speaker, we should see the end of the days when the intelligence agencies were involved in debt collection and arresting people at the least prison. The Speaker, those should be the things of the past. And I think that what the ministry is doing, bringing the proposals for us to craft this new law, should be satisfactory. And Mr. Speaker, we should all join to assist the ministry in the new path that they want to beat for intelligence gathering in order to forestall what may end up as a disaster for this country. Mr. Speaker, in spite of the achievements of the ministry, we should all recognize that we are not out of the woods, which is why the reference to the attempt by certain people to secede should be condemned, and I'm happy that all involved, including the minority leader, are indicating that we should condemn these activities with all the might that we have. Speaker, the referendum that we held in this country in 1992, the country resolved to put and preserve the unity and stability of our country. And that should be the overriding principle of all of us. Mr. Speaker, again, Article 35(2) of the Constitution is emphatic, and it provides that the state shall protect and safeguard the independence, unity, and territorial integrity of Ghana, and shall seek the well-being of all her citizens. Paradoxically, some of the issues that have come up from the ranks of the so-called is that some people feel marginalized. That should be taken on board, whether or not it is true. government should investigate to ensure that nobody feels marginalized. Mr. Speaker, Article 35(6)(a) is also very frontal in this. It provides that towards the achievement of the objectives of this Constitution, the state shall take appropriate measures to foster a spirit of loyalty to Ghana that overrides South, ethnic, and other loyalties. Mr. Speaker, every now and then we should remind ourselves that having resolved to live together in one country, common destiny, as one people, nobody has any right. Nobody, absolutely nobody has any right to raise issues of secession. The Speaker, having said so, we should also admit that in the lead up to the election, we need to be assured that the elections will be conducted in a very transparent and peaceful manner. I believe that the matters relating to the incident happened at Ayawaso West in the conduct of the by-elections should be condemned. They are reprehensible. They should be condemned. Mr. Speaker, what I think we shouldn't encourage is picking and choosing. National security operatives have been involved in the by-elections that they have held. Many of them have proved very disastrous. Mr. Speaker, relating to the elections that we have conducted. And if we have to raise issues and encourage the police to be at the forefront of securing the elections, we must say so. But I believe it is right when people relate to only the Ayawaso incident. It should be a watershed mark for us, never to go there again. But it's not the only incident in respect of elections. Mr. Speaker, we had a government that rose to bite the bullet and set up a committee to deal with this. And to me, that should be the landmark. But it's not the only one. Mr. Speaker, in Chiriponi, when we had national security involved themselves, we had national security operatives from at the time come to shoot at 7 people. It should be another matter that we should resolve to deal away with. There shouldn't be any hypocrisy in this matter. There shouldn't be any hypocrisy in this matter. So I think when we want to confront reality, let us do so. Let us come to equity with clean hands. And I think to all of us. Mr. Speaker, I must congratulate once again the Minister responsible for national security for being forthright with us. Let us all be forthright with ourselves. I thank you very much for the speech.
Thank you very much, Honorable Majority Leader, for your contribution. Where do we move from here? Leaders.
Mr. Speaker, we've listened to the Minister of National Security, and I think that yesterday we resolved.
We just came back from Parliament where the National Security Minister Albert Kandapah has laid out a detailed plan for keeping Ghana safe during the election and beyond. We've been joined on the line by Joseph Opoku Gakpo. Now, Joe, I heard there the Minority Leader say that the Electoral Commission Chair is also expected on the floor today. What is the briefing in relation to?
No, that's exactly the case. The Electoral Commission boss, Jean Mensa, is also expected to speak to MPs alongside officials from the National Commission for Civic Education and also the National Media Commission. And so what is happening now is that the sitting on the floor of the House is being suspended. Now, the standing orders of Parliament are clear that in terms of anyone speaking to the House as a whole at the plenary level, that can only be done by ministers of state and deputy ministers. If you are below the rank of a minister or a deputy minister, you can only speak to a committee of the House and not to the House as a whole. So one strategy that the House has devised to hear other people who are not ministers nor deputy ministers together as members of parliament is for the House to reconstitute the entire House as a committee. So that is what is being done. The main sitting at the level of the plenary, what is described as public business, is being suspended to make way for the reconstitution of the entire House as a single committee.
Okay.
And then we would have either the Speaker of Parliament or the First Deputy Speaker presiding as a committee of a whole, and then that will then give room for the Parliament to then invite the other officials. We gather that even apart from the Electoral Commission officials, most likely the IGP or other officials will also speak to the House.
Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, thank you very much for joining us with those details. So we'll come back to the House when the EC chair takes the stand. That's it, though, for Joy News Today with me, Daniel Dazi. Up next is the Marketplace.
News Today was